Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, and in this RedGamingTech.com video, we're going to be discussing and analysing tech news, which as usual, has popped up in the past 24 or so hours. Hope you're all having an amazing day and a fantastic weekend thus far. We have an awful lot of news to get through as usual, and we're going to start things out with XFX as they've done an upsie and officially confirmed all of the specifications of the AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT. And this is thanks to their website putting up a page a little bit early. Videocards.com were the first to spot this. However, I'll be showing you screenshots of the web page itself, and it's no longer accessible via normal means, but you can still view it if you look at it via Google Cache. Anyway, I'm going to go over the specifications pretty quickly because honestly they are identical to what has been rumoured. So the card was launched a year ago. It was launched in January of 2019. Obviously that's not quite right. So the launch date is probably January 2020, which is nice that they've confirmed it, I guess, or it's possible that that's just a placeholder launch date and they just forgot to update it when they put it on the website. But it does potentially mean we could see a January 2020 launch. The specifications of the GPU, bus type is PCIe 4, game clock 1460, boost clock 1620, which is a little bit higher than the reference design because this is the FIC 2 Pro. The memory configuration, though, is identical to what you'd expect. 192-bit, running at 12 Gbps and 6 GB total, and still sports the 36 compute units, aka 2304 stream processors. It unsurprisingly does demand an 8-pin power connector to be filled, but the good news is, at least according to XFX and their marketing claims here, this is going to be the world's most technologically advanced card for 1080p gaming. And the AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT is powered by the highly acclaimed RDNA architecture, delivering a boost in gaming performance, designed with exceptional power delivery for high fidelity gaming, and equipped with up to 6 GB of GDDR6 memory and PCI Express 4 support. The AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT delivers the ultimate in gaming performance. The pricing for these cards is still up in the air. I'm hearing anything from $250 to $300, and obviously I'm hoping it's going to be on the cheaper side because otherwise it's getting way too close to the prices of the RX 5700 and the competition from Nvidia. So hopefully we're looking at around the $250 mark, ideally even cheaper than that would be perfect. Also, I'd like to tackle a piece of Samsung news. This is actually concerning 3nm, as the company have already succeeded in making a prototype of its first 3nm process. This is actually pretty significant in terms of an improvement over 5nm as well. According to a report which was from the Korean website Mali Economy, hopefully I've pronounced that correctly, we will see the total silicon size shrink by 35% while consuming less than 50% of the power. So in theory this will mean around a 33% performance increase over the 5nm process, It will take a couple of years before this will lead to functioning products on retail shelves, but still, it's quite interesting what we could potentially be seeing. And obviously, TSMC are putting Samsung under a lot of pressure at the moment, and the rumour is that they're gobbling up the bulk of the next generation Nvidia graphics cards orders as well, although there is some conflicting information there. It looks like Samsung will be producing the lower end cards, although once again, conflicting information. And now let's move over to the Nintendo Switch, as there's a fascinating report doing the rounds at the moment that we will see a Switch Pro with 4K support released this year, 2020. Furthermore, it will actually launch prior to both the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Now, if you're just thinking these are idle rumours and they really even slightly accurate, well, it's worth noting that the prediction is made by Sir Toto. If you're unfamiliar with the name, he is the very same analyst that predicted we would see the Switch Lite, and of course that is an actual real console. Details are thin on the ground. He did say that the console will support 4K and beefed up graphics, although he also stated that it would take, quote, bigger cartridges and will cost $400 US. He also stated that the system will launch with a very popular game. It will be, quote, a system seller. One reason to have some doubt, though, is that consistently Nintendo have had lots of radio silence regarding the Switch Pro, or have, I wouldn't say exactly said outright it will never happen, but they've certainly not been too forthright in the possibility. But then again, Nintendo are extremely secretive. What about the hardware then? Well, most likely Nintendo will stick with Nvidia to produce the SoC. Recently, I believe it was last year, Jensen Huang said that the partnership with Nintendo will likely last for 2 decades, which is obviously a good indicator that they're going to continue to provide the hardware inside multiple Nintendo products. I would be fascinated to see, though, how all of this works. Like, they could shift to the Tegra X2, but I don't know if that would have the performance that is being talked about here for 4K. Although I suppose 4K with not necessarily majorly improved graphics, if the clock speeds were right, maybe. But it may even be a slightly later version of the hardware, something like Xavier. Xavier launched this year, but it's also quite hungry, and the die size is 350mm squared. Although, most likely, to be honest, Nintendo will go the custom route. It'll be interesting to see how the system responds between handheld mode and docked mode as well, like what type of performance penalty you would get if you were running in handheld mode. Although, honestly, it's not like they're probably going to have the 4K screen for portable anyway. Most likely it would be 1080p, which obviously means that you don't need so much processing power to be able to run it. It's also entirely possible that the Switch Pro would only be usable as a home-based system. But the fact that they're saying there's bigger cartridges, it makes me wonder, does that mean there's compatibility between the base Switch and this Switch Pro? So let's say, for the sake of argument, you've bought Mario Kart or whatever for your original Switch. Does that mean that it does work on the Switch Pro, potentially a different cartridge slot? Or maybe the cartridge is capable of taking a Switch cartridge, but you won't be able to do the reverse and put a Switch Pro cartridge into the base model Switch. The very final thing I'd like to discuss with you today is a paste bin entry. It dates back actually to the 23rd of June 2019, so it's a little bit old now, to put it mildly. However, it seems to have surfaced again and is doing the rounds on social media, and indeed I've been tagged on it several times on Twitter. I've also been sent several DMs about it, emailed about it, contacted on Facebook about it. So I figure I'm going to throw it in this video just to say that I've covered it. I'm going to say right off the bat, I don't believe this is genuine. So you can click off the video if you want, or you can listen to why I believe it's not genuine. So first of all, he won't reveal his information. He doesn't want to get fired. All of that, I'm fine. That's totally understandable. He doesn't want to say that he's John who works in, the programming department of Ubisoft or something like that. I totally get that. That's fine. However, the CPU side of the equation, once again, I have no issues with. 3.2 GHz, 8 cores, 16 threads, Zen 2 base, fine. That has been really commonly leaked. There's been so many reports of that. Honestly, I'm 100% behind it. It's possible, though, Sony could potentially crank up the clock speed of the CPU. With any luck they do, I'd like to see both next-generation consoles hit the 3.5-ish GHz mark. 2TB SSD, it's not impossible. It would just be really bloody expensive. Capacities over 1TB start to become expensive, and there are numerous reports that SSDs are going to become more expensive anyway because the price of flash memory is going to go up, which is wonderful, right? Yeah, no. Anyway, fully backwards compatible. Once again, no particular issue with that, although they don't state whether it's with all PlayStation consoles or whether it's just the PS4. 8K capable. I would hesitate to say that's for games, because that's 4 times the resolution of 4K. But then again, Sony themselves have said it's 8K capable, the PlayStation 5, although we can probably guess that that's for like movies and that type of content. Once again, no real issue with it. Hardware ray tracing, fine. The big problems for me are the RAM and the GPU. So starting with the RAM, they're toying between 16 and 24 gigabytes. If they said that they weren't sure between 16 and 32 gigabytes, I would say that's fine, because they would just need bigger capacity modules. So they could do that. However, 16 and 24 gigabytes is literally different bus widths, which would be baffling because it would also mean the memory bandwidth would change considerably as well. I highly doubt Sony were making decisions on the bus width of the console back in June of last year. It's not impossible, but I would highly doubt it. The biggest problem, though, is the GPU configuration. 36 dual compute units, which is 72 CU total, 64 shaders per CU, that's right. 1.55 GHz clock speed, 14.2 teraflops, and it's using an AMD 7nm Navi next-gen RDNA-based GPU. That statement is really redundant, because 7nm Navi is RDNA, and next-gen RDNA would mean it's RDNA 2, presumably, which would be contrary to every single leak we've seen thus far. I suppose it's potentially possible Sony could have done a sneaky on us, but it's doubtful. But the 36 dual CU, they're basically stating there dual CU is 36 workgroup processors. A workgroup processor, is basically 2 CUs together. That's standard with any RDNA-based GPU. It's part of the architecture. I am simplifying things here, but to say that you've got 72 compute units would be absolutely monstrous. The power consumption for this thing would be gargantuan. Even at a more sedate 1.55 GHz, that obviously would help to offset the power consumption and heat output a little bit. So yeah, I really would not worry about that at all. I'm highly suspicious of this leak, and I would say that it's very unlikely to even slightly be true. Apart from things like the CPU, but once again, that's been pretty well established anyway. I think that just about covers it for this particular video. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.